provide for the first time. Welcome everybody. As I said, good morning. If you are an SME, you work in the food value chain, and you are interested in innovation, I think this webinar will be very interesting for you. As I said, this is the first informative activity that we are organizing as a VIDA consortium, and we're going to tackle two of the tools that VIDA project is going to make available for the innovation in SMEs, the innovation support voucher and the validation vouchers. First of all, let me go through the agenda for today's webinar. It's Clara Presa from ZINNAE, the Aragonese water cluster, who is talking. I'm in charge of the VIDA project introduction, and no worries, I won't be talking long. Then my colleague Marisa Marini from Lombardy Energy and Cleantech Cluster from Italy will introduce the two of the three VIDA voucher schemes. And then my colleague Norbert Rich from Food Processing Initiative from Germany will explain the VIDA calls and procedures. After all these presentations, I think we have left enough room for you to raise your questions, and hopefully we will be able to answer them. As I said, this webinar is going to be recorded. Some additional instructions for this webinar. Please, during the presentation or after the presentation, you can submit your questions written through the chat, which is this device that you have on the right part of your screen. Questions will be read out loud and answered by presenters. All the presentations and the questions and answers will be sent to participants and published in the website. And a disclaimer that was remind me through my coordinator, this webinar is informative and subject to the approval of the European Commission until the voucher program is actually published on the site of the European Commission. Hopefully that would be soon. Starting with the VIDA project, for those of you that are not aware of this kind of project, this is an Horizon 2020 project. It's funded by the European Commission through their Research and Innovation program. It was selected in 2017, and sorry for this, I just realized the project started this April in 2018 and will end up in 2021. It's a cascade funding scheme. What does it mean, a cascade funding scheme? This is a tool that the European Commission put in place 3 years ago, and it's a way of getting closer to the actual needs of the SMEs that are interested in innovation. That's why the European Commission has awarded this project with 4.5 million euros. 3.3 million euros of it will be directly addressing SME innovation. We are 10 partners from 7 countries in the European Union and 8 clusters involved. So the intermediate organizations that are specialized in this scheme, in this InnoSoup, are clusters. The common goal of VIDA, the main aim of this project, is to support resource efficiency in food value chain through innovation and through SMEs, of course. The VIDA partners, as I said, are 10 organizations from 7 countries of the European Union. There you can see our names and roles. You will have more information in the VIDA website. But as you can see, we have colleagues from Spain, from the northern part, from Aragon, also from Friesland, from the Netherlands, as Water Alliance, and the Center for Expertise in Water, plasma clusters, a food cluster as the FPI, energy clusters as Clean from Denmark, and Lombardy Energy Cluster from Italy, SPI from Portugal, and Nano Progress from the Czech Republic. And what do we want to achieve with VIDA project? Where VIDA is located? VIDA is located in the nexus of 4 different sectors: water, energy, food, and key enabling technologies. VIDA partners, we believe that well, all processes linked to food production from the field to your table are somehow linked to water and energy consumption, that's for sure. And VIDA partners, we believe that they could be improved through key enabling technologies. For those who don't know what the key enabling technologies are, these are 6 different technologies that can be applied to many industries and tackle societal challenges, which are micro and nanoelectronics, nanotechnology, biotechnology, advanced materials, photonics, and advanced manufacturing technologies. So following the picture that you have on your screen, there are in these processes that we just mentioned in the whole food value chain, there are certain inefficiencies, certain externalities that could be tackled through a better performance, through better technologies, through better management, and that's what VIDA wants to tackle. VIDA wants to accelerate those solutions that aim to improve the resource efficiency in the food value chain. And more specifically, the VIDA partners, as a consortium, we did this small exercise of trying to define better which would be those resource efficiency challenges. Here you have some examples. This is not a totally closed table. This is an open table trying to illustrate a little bit more what we mean by this kind of resource efficiency challenge that we want to tackle with innovation. Here you have in the fish farming sector, in sustainable farming in the northern and southern parts of Europe, which have different challenges, some of them common, some of them they are not. In the soy mill or beverage industry, the brewery and winery sector, greenhouses, also meat processing and sugar processing industry. As I said, this list that you have in your screen, it is not a closed list. It's only an informative list, so we can illustrate some examples that we think that are very clear, very crucial, that should be tackled through better technology or better services, better solutions in the food value chain. So after this small introduction, as you know, the core part of the VIDA project are its voucher scheme. The voucher are the tools through which we are going to channelize the funding for SMEs. And now I'm going to give the word to my colleague Marisa Marini from the Lombardy Energy Cluster, so she can explain you better how this voucher scheme is going to work. 1 second. Marisa, she is the project manager in the Lombardy Energy and Cleantech Cluster, and she is the VIDA liaison in LE2C. So Marisa, the floor is yours.
Very good. Good morning. I hope you can hear me well. Good morning from Milano. And yes, as Clara said, I'd like to introduce to you as an appetizer, because when the call will be open, so you will have more details. But I'd like to introduce to you the schemes, the voucher schemes that will be available. So my presentation here goes into 4 details. The funding scheme, very briefly, who can apply, that's very important, and then the 2 vouchers, the 2 schemes we are focusing on today, which is the Innovation Support Voucher that we call ISV, and the Validation Voucher. The funding schemes. Yes, VIDA, the project, our project, has 3 different funding schemes. There are vouchers, there are grants that are aimed to support small and medium-sized enterprises, so SMEs, as we call it as an acronym, that are seeking new resource-efficient solutions in the nexus, as just Clara explained, between food, energy, water, and key enabling technologies. So we offer through our project, through this cascade funding, 3 voucher schemes. Here you can see the main feature of the voucher schemes, of the grants that we are offering, that will all be through open calls. So there will be calls and there will be evaluation for it. But let me tell you right away that the demonstration voucher, which is the more, if I can say, it will look more like of a project, because you will have, besides the funding, the grants, which will be a minimum of 20,000 to a maximum of 250,000. We rather call it joint project. It's a demonstration voucher because we want to demonstrate something, but it will be a special compared to the 2 we are explaining to you today. And we will have a next webinar coming up explaining you exactly more what we mean about this. Also, the call will be possibly a bit later than the calls for the Innovation Support Voucher and the Validation Voucher. Okay. Perhaps if I can say something before going into the details of the main features of those grants and vouchers, is the TRL that you see on the bottom. So here, when TRL, it's meant the technology readiness level. I'm sure many of you are familiar, but just in case, it's what do we mean? That we aim and we focus on activity, on projects that are that have a TRL minimum of 5 and onward to 8. It means that the technology readiness level, if it's measured from technology, basic technology research of a product, of a technology, so that will be level 1. And then on to research, to prove feasibility, technology development. We focus on we focus on technology level 5, which is when you have already a product, you want to validate, demonstrate, and its validity, and then you take it slower to accompany to the market. So I'm sure you will find a better description, but meaning that we want products that are already consistent in a way. Okay, so let me go through the innovation support briefly, the features of the Innovation Support Voucher Scheme. You will see here the minimum funding. There will be open calls with cutoff dates during 2019, and the time period for the Innovation Support Voucher are 3 to 6 months, meaning you have to achieve and use up your funding within in about 6 months maximum. When we say here participant, it means who can apply. It can apply, one SME can apply to it, and we will see how and with whom they can apply. The validation file voucher here, instead, meaning we want to validate, it's aimed at supporting SMEs in validating a product, a technology, and it goes from a minimum of 10,000 euro to 25,000. Also, there will be open calls. We think that a time period, the span of 6 months, you can achieve that. So that's what I mean. The TRL must be quite high already. Again, who can apply an SME with, of course, those who will provide the validation, those centers, companies, or a specialized agency that can validate. And yes, and the TRL must be 7, at least 7. Let's move on to the next slide. Who can apply? Yes, I already mentioned it. Very important, these are the main requirements for our project. Applicants must have and declare their SME status. We follow the European Union definition of small and medium-sized enterprise, which basically focuses on 3 main criteria: whether or not you're a company that has more than 25 employees, whether or not your turnover does exceed 50 million euro, and if your annual balance sheet is exceeds 43 million. If you're under those criteria, let's say thresholds, then yes, you're an SME, and you will declare it, and you will be able to apply to the VIDA funding scheme. Then applicants need to be active in one of the following sectors. I think Clara already mentioned it: the food production chain, the water technology, the energy technology supply chain, and the key enabling technology supply chain, all based on the having the food sector as a base, let's say. And then applicants, this is also one rule that we gave for ourselves, must be a member of the VIDA clusters, or one of the VIDA clusters, or have a seat, be headquartered in one of the VIDA regions. And I will show in a minute as an example, but of course you will, once the call will be out, you will be able to check this more thoroughly. And applicants must declare their financial stability, meaning that they don't have to have gone through or been in the process of having some financial criticism. Also there you will have to fill in a declaration. As I said, to be eligible, what we mean by being member of a VIDA cluster, the names, this is not a better, I mean, sorry for the quality of this picture, but it will be listed. Namely, it's for, you can be headquartered in Denmark, in the Netherlands, in Germany, and also in the Czech Republic, and in Germany, I said it, and in Spain and in Portugal. Spain and Italy, this is perhaps the only thing to underline. We only accept companies that are, for Spain, based in the Aragon region, and in Italy in Lombardy region. That's because we are regional clusters, and so we give priority to companies that are in our region. Okay, let's move forward. I said let's go a little bit into more details of what we mean by this funding, which is quite it's the voucher schemes it's like a kickoff, a start. It's a support, financial support for SME to help them to access external knowledge and expertise when we need to innovate something. Perhaps we don't have all the skills, and so we go for we need a consultancy on some part. We need training. We need perhaps to take part into some VIDA events, because we can move on to the other vouchers the VIDA project offers, like the validation or the demonstration. So, but the main part of this voucher is consultancy and training. As I said, every SME will have a minimum funding of 1,000 euro to a maximum of 5,000, and you can apply for consultancy on training on, for example, intellectual property, which we know is very important when we deal with technology, new products, and so to have support on this. on innovation management training, on what do we mean by advanced manufacturing if you need something, on ICT and eco-innovation. These are just some examples that are here. Market and regulatory studies, etc. So if you go for a short, if your company needs a support on one of these topics, or maybe one more, and so it's a really limited short time in 3 to 6 months, you are eligible to participate. Who will support you in this? You see, we have this name, eligible course by knowledge provider. It means you can have consultancy and training, you can ask for it, to a consultancy agency, a university, a training center, a specialized center, as I said, even a consultant, if they have the proper, if they can prove that they have the experience and the background for supporting you in doing this. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Here are some examples. For example, one thing, you know, you're available for SME, you have available a maximum of 5,000 euros if you're looking for a support, a knowledge support on the thing that we have seen before, so IPR, etc. An example, you are an applicant SME together with an experienced knowledge provider. Don't be scared about the names we have here, but knowledge provider is basically, as I said, a research center, a university, can be an agency, those who have the skills and the competence for helping you in, say, devise a market regulatory studies. Okay, and you go and you look for an IP support, for example, in water technology supply, and you want also to pitch your, doing some networking, because you know this is for you will be the first step to apply to other VIDA projects. So this is just an example in terms of money that you can be involved. You have a budget for using, for example, you know that your the knowledge provider will ask you 3,300 euros, and then you participate to a VIDA event. This makes out 4,000 euros. So it means you're not using up the maximum of 5,000, but so you have like a 1,000 euros bonus. Let me clear it. You can you can use up to maximum 5,000 euros. But this is just an example, because what I want to highlight here is that you will have 1,000 as an SME, 1,000 bonus, because you can apply to other VIDA vouchers. And you see here in the box here, every SME can apply for more than one VIDA voucher, but you have a maximum total funding of 60,000 euro that you can apply for. Of course, VIDA voucher will cover the 100% of what the eligible expenses will be. So in this case, it means that if you're in the example one, if you're using 4,000 euros in applying to innovation support voucher schemes, then you will have 56,000, in theory, 56,000 euro still free to apply for other VIDA vouchers. As a second example, again, one applicant SMEs that together with a knowledge provider, specialized agency, etc. For example, you need a training in innovation management. Okay, and you request 2,500 euros. If your project is, if the application is good, very well evaluated and is approved, then again, it means you will have 60,000 minus 2,000 and 50,000. You will have still space to apply for other VIDA vouchers. If something is not clear, or as I said, you can send in your question through the chat, or again, this is take it as an appetizer, and then when the call will be published, everything will be more in details and explained. Okay, validation voucher. This is the second scheme that we are highlighting today. The validation voucher scheme has a purpose of proving and validating new and innovative technologies that we know it has to be a technology readiness level at least from 7 on. So it means you're using it, perhaps already your technology, but you need an external validation. You need to be on the market. You need that your product, your technology needs to be proved, certified in a way, or proved in a different environment. So by an experienced and recognized service provider. Again, it can be a lab, a technical university lab, a research center, or whatever. So the eligible activities, you will have from 10,000 to 25,000 euro maximum to use up this voucher for helping you, supporting you in paying for the testing costs, some personal costs, etc. But in the details we will go once the call will be out. Let's see an example again. Let's keep in mind that you still have, as an SME, suppose you have already applied and you had a voucher as an innovation support voucher of 5,000 euros, it means you have a maximum of 60,000 euros available. Applicant SMEs, so for example, and I made some example here in underlining also two things from different countries, because one of our values in our project is that we want to work not only cross-sectorial, as Clara mentioned, it means in the nexus between food, energy, water, and key enabling technology. Also, we aim at working at cross-country level. So, for example, you're an SME from Italy, and you use a service provider based in the Netherlands, for example, to validate an innovative energy efficiency process for cooling and heating, for example, to be applied in a winery. Okay, so for example, testing validation will cost you 8,000 euros, and personnel 5,000. That makes a total of 23,000, and you have a maximum of 25,000 euros available. Second example, you're a small, medium-sized enterprise from Germany, and that needs two service providers. One, for example, based in the Czech Republic, and one in Germany. One, for example, focused on new nanotech device, and the other one focuses on some other kinds of validation for the milk processing plant, for example. Testing facility validation, you use up all the money that it's available for this kind of validation voucher scheme. I think this will be the explanation of what our two main voucher scheme will be focusing on. And now I leave the floor to Norbert, my colleague Norbert Reichel, and he will explain, going more into details of what of the call process and the evaluation of it. Thank you, and send in your question if something is not clear for my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Marisa. I hope everybody can hear me loud and clear. Now just waiting for the screen to be shared for my presentation. And my part for today is briefly explaining you the evaluation procedure. And first, a short introduction. My name is Norbert Reichel. I'm representing Food Processing Initiative, which is an innovation cluster in the food area here in Northwest Germany. And I'm really happy to have you all here today. So what will I present today? It's, as I said, it's the procedures from launching the call to the application, to the evaluation, the implementation, and finally the monitoring phase. So very short summary and overview. If we move to the launch phase, which we suppose will be in the first quarter 2019, we are not having set the dates yet, because as mentioned earlier, our proposal for all these innovation support vouchers and validation vouchers first need to go to the project officer in Brussels, and then they can be launched. What will happen in this launch of the call? You will have access to all the documents that are listed here in the right box, the guide for applicants, of course the application form, the terms and conditions, and also already here the evaluation procedures, so you can clearly see what is needed, what is expected for you if you want to apply for these two vouchers. On the next slide, this is actually what should be of most interest for you, because the application phase, there you download the information. First, of course, you should read all the documents provided. Then you download the application form. You complete the application for either one of the two vouchers, and we will provide documents that you just simply fill in. It's PDFs that you can fill in. You complete them, you save them, and that's finally it. Submitting the proposal is also very easy and clear. We have an online portal, which you see in the bottom line. It's the www.clue5.net. There we have a separated page for submitting also your proposals, and you can be assured that only the consortium members of the VIDA project have access to all this information that you provide. What happens after? After the submitting, it's an open call for 1 year, but we have several cutoff dates where we collect all the submitted proposals. So every 8 weeks, roughly speaking, we will evaluate the proposals handed in. The dates will be specified when we exactly know when the call is launched. So you will also find the exact dates on the website later. The calls or the applications will be evaluated by 3 representatives of the VIDA consortium partners. That means for each application we have 3 selected representatives and put information together and have a clear outline also for you afterwards. What will be checked? It's a 3-step approach. You have eligibility criteria. That means basically we will check, are you an SME or not? Then we have the capabilities and of course the award-winning criteria, which we call the excellence of the application. This process should not longer take than 4 weeks. So I think you already can see a difference from maybe other European projects. We try really to speed up the process here because we exactly know that you don't want to wait too long. And once the funding is approved, you can start your project. So this should really be in short time. In case we have to reject your application, we will give you a detailed feedback and also provide further support from the regional partner of the VIDA consortium. That means if you hand in an application from Germany, it will be either us from Food Processing Initiatives or the colleagues from BalticNet Plasmatech, the second German partner, that will give you feedback why it didn't work out this time, and also give you some advice what can be maybe other steps. If we move to the next slide, there we have listed the evaluation criteria in more detail, and as already mentioned, we will check eligibility, so the formal criteria. That means basically, are you an SME, are you from the defined regions, and each application must involve at minimum 1 SME. We will check next the capabilities. That means, do you have the necessary knowledge? Do you have also the economic capabilities? Is your proposal clear and convincing? So is your concept described in a way that it's clearly directed to the scope of the call? And can you or your subcontractor, the knowledge provider, provide any references that gives us the opportunity to check the quality? And finally, we have the award-winning criteria, the excellence criteria, to select the best proposals. There we evaluate what specific challenges will be tackled, how innovative is your approach, and what impact would you expect. Of course, all these criteria, because they are more or less the core of the whole process of the evaluation, but also, of course, for you writing the proposal, will be explained in all details in all the documents that will be provided. So no worries, it should be clear to all of you what we expect here. Once the evaluation is finished, finalized, you will be informed. Then you need to go to the EC website and do a full SME check, but only now. It goes rather quickly. It's not, it's not a big deal, but we need to make sure that you are really an SME. So we use this official website, EC website check. Then we will have a grant agreement with you, so we will contract you as a beneficiary. It will be a contract between you and the coordinator of the VIDA project. And then, of course, you can start the implementation once the contract is signed, because this is what you want to do. You want to start action. Then we have the payments. And also here we have agreed on different schemes for the innovation support voucher. We will have a pre-payment, a first-term payment, once the action is approved for starting. You will receive within 30 days upon signature of the grant agreement 50% of the funds you applied for, and the second 50% payment will be 30 days upon approval of the financial and technical report that you have to deliver. And this, of course, means that if you fail to deliver this report, to submit, or that there are problems to approve it on time, we ask you to reimburse the prepayment back to the VIDA coordinator, because then your project was not successful. In the case of the validation vouchers, we go even one step further. The full payment will be made 30 days upon approval of the financial and technical report. This is also to make sure that we have good results, or you have the good results, and we can pay out the funds, the public money, to you. All payments will be made, of course, in euro. We have a monitoring phase, which means basically we will also monitor the development of your projects during the project phase, and we will ask you to provide a short progress report after 3 months after starting the project. And if your project runs 6 months, we will ask always for a final report. If it's 6 months or 5 months, that really doesn't matter, but we will always ask again for a condensed final report, also to give us the opportunity to see the results of your projects and to make sure that the quality is good. What is the follow-up activities? And this is for the ones, as I said before, that will be It's for the beneficiaries, but also for the applications that might fail to receive funding. We offer support, advice to you with your projects. We will check if there are other VIDA vouchers that suit your approach, that suit your idea. And in case it is relevant, we will also introduce other regional funding schemes if you need maybe other consortia, other project partners, or other funding opportunities. So that was a quick going through. I'm finished with my part. I've seen some questions coming in, and I would now give my microphone back to Clara to go through the questions. Okay, I'll mute again, and thanks for listening.
Thank you both Norbert and Marisa for your outstanding presentations. Now the floor is to the audience, to the participants of this webinar. I encourage you to send your questions through the chat. As I explained at the beginning of the webinar, all the questions should be channelized through the chat, which is on the right part of your screen. Then you would be able to raise your questions. I see there are already 4 questions. I'm going to give the word back to my colleagues. Maybe Marisa, you can start. I think this question was raised at the very beginning, and I think it has already been solved. But maybe you can go through quickly and briefly, Marisa, from the to answer the first question. What is the application process for the innovation support voucher, scope, and time investment? Well, the process has been explained by Norbert, but I think that you mean the scope and the timing for these vouchers. So maybe Marisa, you can answer this question, and also the second question from my colleague Marisa from ZINNAE. I think that he raised this question just for clarification to the audience. Do the SME and the service provider have to be from different countries, or could be from the same country? So these 2 questions for you, Marisa Marini, please.
Okay, thank you, Clara. Perhaps can you upload my presentation quickly, because it goes so that it helps me to explain better. Yeah, what's the scope of the and the time investment times for the innovation voucher? I think you asked for the innovation support voucher. Yes. So the innovation support voucher is, I'm talking to Anders and to everybody else, has the scope is to help an SME in having a consultancy or a training program that support the SME in gaining more skills and knowledge on, or having specialized a specialized product. For example, on some main things like we know when we talk about innovation, when we talk about new products on the market, we know, we deal with intellectual property. We know it may be an innovation management training because we are changing something in our companies. We may need an advanced manufacturing. We know how important it is now, the industry 4.0, etc., ICT, whatever. So the scope will be to having a concrete support in helping you deepening, go a little bit deep into, and having some products coming from this kind of support. We are thinking of a limited, very limited time, like from 3 to 6 months. You can have a consultancy, or you can take part to a training program for you. I mean, for the staff of your company, or for the leaders of your company. by the way, we encourage gender equality. So any company that will have employees or leaders that are females, and we hope to have females too. We know there are many out there. Anyway, so and the investment is from 1,000 to 5,000 euros. I said these are vouchers, these are grants, so you don't need to co-finance them. This is public money that comes from the European Union through the clusters that we are part of it. So I think this is the first question. I hope I answered to this. The second one that was that was raised by my colleague from ZINNAE. Well, these are just examples that I made, and as I said, from Italy, from the Netherlands, from different countries. But yes, the answer is yes. The SME, the small medium, and service provider can be from the same country too. We value, as I said, cross-country support, but the answer is yes, they can be from the same country too. Thank you.
Thank you, Marisa. Now a question for Norbert. A very interesting question, Norbert. When would be the application documents be ready for submission for the voucher scheme?
Yes, thank you. I mentioned during my presentation that the documents are prepared now to be delivered to the project officer. Of course, the project officer will check if everything we came up with is according to EC laws and regulations. This check should not take too long, and I don't want to give an estimation now if it's already in January or February, but it will be early 2019. And if you leave your address and everything, of course, you will get the information once the call is launched, because we want, of course, that all interested parties are aware that the call is open. And then, for instance, with the innovation support voucher, this voucher will be open for 1 year. So you will have 1 year time to place your applications. And if you're fast, of course, you can start early if you are evaluated positively. I hope this answers your question basically, but we make sure that all documents are ready once the call is open. Okay?
Thank you very much, Norbert, for your answer. I think that the next one, I can take it because that's an easy one. A member of BalticNet cluster from Poland is eligible to be an applicant. The answer is yes, as long as you are an SME. The answer is yes. As my colleagues mentioned, eligible entities are SMEs that are a member of one of the 8 clusters that are part of VIDA project, and or SMEs that are headquartered in one of the VIDA regions. I see there are no more questions. So you have there is still some time remaining. Of course, as I said, all these presentations and also the question and answers would be collected, would be gathered together and published in the website. I think this is a very interesting exercise, not only for you, but for other potential applicants. Another one here. A service provider to be paid by subcontract. Can you explain a little bit more, Yonshia-san?
Maybe I can jump in here.
Okay,
it's the same question. It's the same question raised being a member of BalticNet from Poland, if this partner would be eligible. And as Clara already explained, you have to be an SME to apply directly. But if an SME, again, from the regions we address or from the members of the clusters, of the involved clusters, contracts you as a subcontractor, you can be from Poland or every other country, because it's the choice of the applicant which knowledge provider he wants to contact with. Okay, there is another question.
Norbert, maybe I can jump in because I know the partner. Yes,
Okay,
they can be a knowledge provider as long as a SME is interested in your service you offer. I know that you are from a university or from a science institution, and I know that you work together with several companies, and yes, it's possible that they apply for a voucher and then pay you to provide them some special services to check, for instance, decontamination processes or sterilization processes. And I think you can also prepare your offer for the other partners of the consortium, because I know that you are dealing a lot with irradiation of food, and if there are questions from others, sure, you can be a service provider for this topic.
I think I can take the next. Well, no, sorry. From the same person, a training course include EASME plus service. Yes, EASME in Poland needs to join in BalticNet to be an applicant. As we said, to be eligible to be an applicant, you have to be an EASME, either be a member of a VIDA cluster or be headquartered in VIDA territorial scope. If you're acting as a subcontractor, you can be in any place of Europe, because it's the choice of the EASME, as my colleagues explained. There is another question about the dates of the webinars, of the following webinars. I'm trying to schedule all the webinars for the first term of 2019. They will be in January and February, most of them. So I just encourage you to be to keep following us through our different networks, through our website, on social networks, because we will announce it soon, the whole calendar for webinars. And another question raised by, again, a clarification from my colleague, a little bit more about VIDA events. So VIDA events are basically two brokerage events which will take place in 2019, in which we will encourage the face-to-face matchmaking networking between different SMEs. These are events especially that tackle the demonstration vouchers, because we want consortiums to be created out of different SMEs from different countries. The first event will take place in Spain during the SMAGUA exhibition, water exhibition, on the 5th of February. And the second one is not scheduled yet. But this, of course, I said that there would be two main events, but my colleagues in the different parts of Europe will organize in their headquarters events, so you can attend and know more about the VIDA funding schemes directly in person. I hope this was clear enough. I see no other questions. Maybe, of course, this is still time, but we put 1 hour and a half because this is our first webinar, but I think we did it in 1 hour. It's fairly enough. Maybe I can give a briefly word to Norbert and to Marisa to say goodbye and thank you to the attendees.
Yes, thank you. This is Marisa. Say goodbye from Milano for the time being in Italy, and please stay in touch with us through our local cluster or through the website vidaproject.eu, or with send in your questions using the same email that you've used before. Thank you very much, and good luck with your application.
Also from my side, very happy that we managed this, well, little challenge for us in a good way. And again, I can only encourage all participants of this first webinar, check our websites on a regular basis, look out for the calls. They will be open soon, and of course we will inform you also actively once the dates are clear. So we would be happy to receive, of course, good applications from all of you. I think it's a very interesting topic, resource efficient food production and processing. It's a good topic to invest in the money, but we need, of course, also some innovation here to really make a step forward and to make food production and processing more sustainable. Thank you, and well, talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
And from my side, I can't prevent but repeating the words of my colleagues. Thank you very much for your to all the attendees, to the presenters. We are really looking forward to receive your applications. If you're SME, we are looking forward to receiving your proposals. If you're a knowledge provider, please contact to all your SMEs that are related to the food value chain and all the VIDA sectors, and spread the word. Thank you very much to you all, and we are waiting for your proposals, and good luck.